Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and a puzzle that I've just opened on screen now and made me think, what the heck is going on? No numbers at all, no killer to Sudoku cage, no totals at all, a tiny little thermometer, and yes, okay, this looks rather daunting, but in fact, this puzzle has a perfect 100% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany, and it's by Senator Gronk, a compiler who we featured before to much acclaim actually. And the testing reports on this puzzle are amazing. One of our testers says that this puzzle just has to go in the book. It's that good. So this, of course, is our Kickstarter book, where we've got the campaign running at the moment to try and create the greatest Sudoku book of all time, and we are well on course to do just that. More stretch goals will be up, by the way, by the time this video goes live. So if you've not been to the Kickstarter page for a few days, do check it out and see if any of those stretch goals appeal to you. I will put a link on the screen right there now. Now let me read you the rules of Senator Gronk's puzzle here. We have got, and this is a very interesting rule set. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits cannot repeat within a cage. Now each cage has a different sum. Let's call X the smallest sum of a cage in the puzzle and Y the largest sum of a cage in the puzzle. The cage with the sum of X is orthogonally adjacent to the cage with the sum of Y. Every number between X and Y is the sum of a cage in the puzzle, and if two cages have sums that are consecutive integers, then they must be orthogonally adjacent. Now I'm just going to stop there in the rules because that sounds very complicated, but I think it's actually incredibly simple, but it's just expressed in a very clear and precise way, which we always think is important, but I don't want people to be put off by the rules, because basically what this is saying is that the cage totals form a chain in the grid. So if we thought this was the lowest one, then we would have to go, we'd have to find a sequence of cages where each of the totals is increasing by 1 each time as we go round the grid. We'd have to keep increasing by 1 the cage totals as we wend our way round, in the end ending up with the highest cage, which would need to touch with the lowest cage. So the lowest cage and the highest cage share an edge. That's what orthogonal means. It means share an edge, not a corner, share an edge. So basically there's a big long chain going round in the grid where the cage totals increase by 1 each time. Now, cells separated by a knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. Let's just run through that one quickly. So imagine that was a 1. If it was a chess knight, it could jump to loads of different squares, all those 8 squares. None of these yellow squares can contain a 1, because a chess knight in this position could jump to all of these squares. So this is an additional restriction over and above the normal Sudoku rule. So if this was a 1, obviously you couldn't put a 1 in the column, the row, or the box. But because of the knight's move constraint, you also can't put a 1 in any of those positions. Now, Senator Gronk has also put this thermometer in the grid, not a very long, helpful thermometer, I will say that. Numbers in a thermometer must increase starting at the bulb. So basically, this is just in here to tell us that this cell, and let's get rid of that, this cell here is higher than this one. That's all this thermometer does. We could have done that with an inequality sign, but Senator Gronk, presumably because he loves Sudoku and thermos may always make a good Sudoku, he's done it using a thermometer to demonstrate that constraint. So this is going to be interesting. I have an idea about how to start it. I remember my sort of high school level maths, so I'll talk you through that in just a moment. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play, of course, is to click the link under the video, and with that I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, given that we know that each cage is sort of consecutive with the one next to it in terms of totals, it seems to me that if we add up how many cages there are in this grid, we ought to be able to do some maths to work out what the range of cages is. So let's try and do that. I'm going to add the cages. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there are 18 different cages in this puzzle. Now, The key, I suspect, is that I actually know what every digit in this puzzle adds up to. And I suspect many of you do as well. The way to work this out is to realise that obviously if we look at the finished solution to this puzzle, this row will contain all of the digits from 1 to 9. Now 1 to 9, if you add them up, you get 45. And there are 9 rows in the puzzle. So I know that the whole puzzle adds up to 45 times 9, which is 405. So we now know that the 18 cages in this puzzle sum to 45. And that means we can use my high school maths to work some things out. And the reason I remember this is I was told it was a story about the mathematician Carl Gauss, one of the great mathematicians of history, whose school teacher was bored or something and said, all right, well, your task for the lesson is to add up all of the numbers from 1 to 100, thinking it would take them all day to do it. And Carl Gauss sort of did it in his head in about 2.5 seconds, rather annoying the teacher. And how did he do it? Well, he immediately noticed that if you add up the digits from 1 to 100, you can simplify that very substantially by realizing that if you add 1 to 100, you get 101. If you add 2 to 99, you get 101. If you add 3 to 98, you get 101. So all you've actually got is 50 lots of the sum 50 times 101, because you've got 50 pairs that all add up to 101. So here we've got 9 pairs, haven't we? Because we've got 18 cages. So we've got, if we take the lowest cage and the highest cage, and then the second lowest cage and the second highest cage, etc., we've got 9 different pairs which have to add up to 405. Well, the thing that's good about that is that 405 is divisible by 9, and I know that because I just did the multiplication to prove it. I multiplied 45 by 9 to get 405. So I'm now able to say these 9 pairs must each add to 45. Now, how do we keep going with this logic? So if the 9 pairs add to 45, and the average cage is obviously therefore going to be 405 divided by 18, which is going to have to be 22.5. So the middle pair must be 22 and 23. And then as we sort of go backwards from there, we're going to have a 22, 23, we're going to have a 21 and a 24, a 20 and a 25, and I need to keep doing this until I get to 18 different digits. So I've got to go back. So 22 and 23 is the starting point. So I've got to go back another 8 digits from the bottom number and add 8 more digits to the top number. And sorry, I know this is very inarticulate. I'm just trying to get it clear in my head. So 22 minus 8 is 14. Right. So I think what I'm saying is that I've got the outermost pair of digits in my sequence is 14, and 8 plus 23 is 31. So 14 and 31, that does that to 45. That feels good. 15 and 30, that adds to 45, etc. Closing in on 22 and 23, and that should be 18 different digits. 14 to 31 is 18 different digits. So we are cooking with gas. Remember that to work out how many different digits there are between 14 and 31, you don't just deduct 14 from 31, you'll only get 17, but because I'm counting the digit 14 and the digit 31, there are 18 different digits. So, right, this is all a very, very long way of explaining that I now think this puzzle contains cages that are between and include 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way to 31. So now, what do we do next? I haven't even looked at the puzzle yet, beyond counting the number of cages. So 14 is the lowest. There's a 2-cell cage there. Is that going to be the lowest? 14, that could be 15, that could be 16. There's a 7-cell cage there. Oh, and another 7-cell cage here. 7 cells must be at least 28, because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 adds to 28. So that cage is quite interesting. That could be the 14 cage. And then it would have to touch a 15 cage. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Look, this box is where we start. Because this box is completely containing 3 different cages. Now, we know that these cages, because they're connected orthogonally with each other, must have a difference of 1 between their cage totals. So we know that the 45, which is what this cage adds up to in total, divided by 3 cages is 15. We know the average cage in this in box 3 must add to 15. So it must include a 14 cage, a 15 cage, and a 16 cage. That's the only way we can make consecutive numbers add up to 45. 3 consecutive numbers add to 45. So one of these cages is the low cage. And the low cage must attach to the high cage. So this can't be the low cage, because this cannot be attached to the high cage, because the high cage is 31, which is at least a 5-cell cage. Oh, this one can't be either. Hang on. Let's just double check this. So the low cage, which must be one of these, has to attach to a 5-cell cage. At least a 5-cell cage. This one can't, this one can't. So this is, there we go, this is the low cage. This is 14. And then, could this be the high cage, or does it have to be that one? I'm not sure. Okay, but this is the low cage, right? Oh, this is really interesting, because now we know we've got to go on a journey through this puzzle where we're going to have to find a continuous sequence of cages, 14, 15, 16, etc., all the way up to 31, which will reconnect with this one. So it's like a country road puzzle, if you've ever done that logic problem. But obviously, if this is the 14 cage, this can't be the 15 cage, because then this would have to be the 16 cage, and the 16 cage then couldn't attach to the 17 cage. So I need to find a way of ordering the cages. This is 14, this is 15. If this is the 16 cage, and it must be 7 and 9. That's the only way of making 2 cells add up to 16. 15, 16, then this will have to be 17. I'm just wondering, can I use colours somehow to tell me this? I could use the colours of the rainbow. That's what I'm going to do. Rainbow. So red is going to be red, orange, yellow. Which is the next most? Maybe green would be next, would it? Then blue, and then purple. Okay, so red, orange, yellow, green. And this one was 17. I now need an 18 cage. That cage is too large. That's a 6-cell cage. A 6-cell cage must be at least 21, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 add to 21. So 17... I think it's got to be this one, hasn't it? If it was this one, this would be 18. Oh, and then we're isolating cages. Then we have to go to that cage, 19. And then this cage would have to be the final... Oh, this cage, you can't get in and out of this cage. And it's not connected to this cage, and it can't be a 31 cage. This is nonsense. So the green cage must attach to this cage. This must be the next cage. 17, 18, then it can't go here because this cage must be at least 21. So this is 18, 17, 18. This must be 19. Let's make that purple. Now this cage mustn't be isolated, so that's the next cage. Let's go back to red. Now we're on orange again, which must be here. So we're on 20, 21, and that's really nice. Oh, that's really nice, because this is a 21 cage in 6 cells, so it must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But more importantly, this cage, we know that this box adds to 45. But this cage adds to 21, so this cage adds to 24, which is not consecutive with 21. So we've got to find another cage now, which is the 22 cage. So it could be this one. So if this is the 22 cage. No, this is just a beautiful puzzle. My goodness me. If this was the 22 cage, we've then got to find a cage which is orthogonally connected to this cage, which is the 23 cage, and orthogonally connected to this cage, because this is the 24 cage. Now there is no cage in the puzzle that is orthogonally connected to this cage and this cage, apart from this cage which has already been used. This cage won't do, it's not attached to this one. This cage won't do because it's not attached to this one. So this is not the 22 cage, which means this is the only option for the 22 cage. Okay, and now the only cage that can be the 23 cage is this one. In fact, the mathematics of this box now force this to be the 23 cage as well, because we know that 22 plus 23 equals the 45. So then we come in here, let's make that one blue. So this is the 24 cage. This is the 23 cage. This cage can only get, this cage can only get out to this cage now. So we turn that purple, but now we know which is the 31 cage. It must be that cage. So this cage is 25. Oh, this is good as well. Look, there's a 7-cell cage here. We know this cage is the 31 cage. This is a 7-cell cage, so it must be at least 28. So it can't be the 26 cage. So what is the 26 cage that's connected to this purple? It can only be this Tetris shape. That's back to red again. 26. This has to be 28, so this must be the 27. I love this. This is just so cool. This is 27. Now I don't think I know which way to go. This one could be 28. That's a 7-cell cage. Or this one. In fact, the order of these last few looks completely open. If that was 28, that could be, you could even go 29, 30, 31, or you could go 28, 29, 30, 31, or you could go 28 here. Oh, no, okay. I don't think I know how to do the top left of the grid. And the other thing I don't know how to do, which would be helpful, is although I now know the rainbow colours are helping me to learn the order, you know, if you ask me what the sum of this blue one was, now I haven't got a clue. I would really be useful to note down what the cage sums were somehow. I wonder if I can... Maybe if I use corner, look, this one was 14, if I do that, I'm going to, in this puzzle only, I'm going to say that corner pencil marks are telling me the sum of a cage, okay? So this is not saying that the number 1 can go in 2 positions in this cage or anything like that. It's telling me this cage adds to 14. So this was the 15 cage. 16 is okay. I know that's 7 and 9. This is a 17 cage. This was the 18 cage. This one was the 19 cage, I think. This is a 20 cage. I can't do 20 because I can't put 0 in. And in fact, I know there's an 8 and a 9 in this. In fact, I know there's a 3 therefore. Look, there's an 8, 9 in box 7, in row 7 and 8. there's an 8, 9 in box 8 in row 7 and 8. So where does 8 and 9 go in the bottom row? Well, they can't go in those squares. They can't go in these squares. So they must be in this cage, which adds up to 20. So they must be joined by a 3. And that avoids me having to somehow put a 2 and a 0 in here, which I can't do. So that's 3, 8, 9. There's no 3 in here. And this one is 21, which we've notated. This one, is it this one that's 22, or is it that one? I've forgotten. No, it was this one that's... It was this one that was 22, because then that attaches to this one, which is 23. So I can put all the options in for this one as well, like that. So this is 20. This is 22. This is 23. 24. This one has to be 25. Let's put that in there. 2, 5, like that. This one was 26. This one was 27. And at least now I have a quick way of referencing what's going on. Now look, I can do some geometry here. This box adds up to 45. It's got a 20 cage and a 19 cage there. So those 8 cells add up to 39. So in order to get 45 for the box, that is a 6. Now we can continue that look. That means this is an 18 cage, so this adds up to 12. This domino here is 12. 12 and 17 is 29. So those 3 squares must add up to 16 in order to make this box add to 45. So this is 16, which means as this is a 25 cage, those 3 squares add up to 9, which is nearly useful, but not quite useful enough. If it would have been any less, I would have known there would have been a 1 in that string of cells. 6, look. This 6 means that square's a 6. That means that square's a 7 because of the 8, 9 pair here. So there's no 7 there. 7 can be ruled out of this square and this square because of the knight's move constraint. I mustn't forget the knight's move constraint. 6 can be ruled out of all these squares and that one. Okay, now I'm getting stuck. Don't get stuck, Simon. It's been going so well. Oh, look, box 4 here. This is a 27 cage, so those 3 squares must add up to 18 to make the box add up to 45. But this red Tetris shape is a 26 cage, so this square is an 8. It gives me an 8, 9 pair. Knight's move is going to be helpful. Look, that can't be a 9 anymore, so the 9 and the 8 get fixed. Eight must be in one of those cells by Sudoku, look. Hang on. Now look. Look. This cage is interesting because this cage is an enormous cage. We know this cage is adding up to at least 28. No, it's actually adding up to more than that because it can't touch this cage. This cage is adding up to 29 or 30, so it definitely has an 8 in it. Where does the 8 go? Well, it can't go there, it can't go there, it can't go there because we've got all these 8s at the bottom. So 8 goes here, 8's not there anymore. This is gorgeous. Again, it's gorgeous. 8 here and here. Let's use our knight's move constraint on box 3. Can an 8 go in this position? No, because it would rule an 8. It would rule 8 out from this square by Sudoku. Let's show you. And this square by knight's move. You can never put an 8 in either of those 2 squares. Well, if you can't put an 8 in these 2 squares and there's an 8 here, there must be an 8 in the top right-hand corner of the puzzle. And this is a 15 cage. So this is 1, 2, 4, 8, because the only way of making 7 in 3 cells is with 1, 2, and 4. Therefore, this is 3, 5, or 6 to complete the box. That can't be 3. Oh, and that can't be 8 because of the knight's move. So this is 9. Okay, is that useful? Might be. Just trying to... So these squares now add up to 19, and they are 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. The 7 is not in those squares, look, because of this 7. I'm not sure if I can go any further with this, actually. Can we do... Oh yeah, I learnt the value of those. Yeah, oh, hang on, look. These 3 squares, 12, 20, these 3 squares added up to 16. So actually now I've got 16 in those 3, plus 9 is 25, plus another 14 is 39. These have to add up to 6, so they can't have a 7 in them. Oops, there's no 7 here. This is either 1, 5 or 2, 4. Oh, it's not 1, 5. There's a 5 in the column already. So this is not 1, 5. This is 2, 4. So this square can no longer be a 2 or a 4, because if this is a 2 or a 4, it would rule a 2, 4 out from both these positions. 2, 4. This has got to be 1, 7, 8 now to add up to my 16 that I needed there. That can't be 8. Hang on. If this is... Oh, there's loads going on. If this is 1, 7, 8, it has a 1 in it. Those 3 squares have to add up to 9 to make this cage add to 25. But we can't use 1. So this has got to be 2, 3, 4. And this can't be a 4 because it's on the thermometer. This can't be a 2 because it's on the thermometer. But the other thing I noticed is we've used 7 and 8 now in this cage, in this box here. And those 2 have to add to 12. So these have got to be 3 and 9. Oh, this is gorgeous. This can't be 9. If we make that a 9, you can't put 9 in this domino because of the knight's move restriction. So this is 3, this is 9. This is 9, this is 7. 7 must go here, because this is a 1-5 pair now. This 3 fixes the 3 and the 8 at the bottom. That fixes the 8 at the top. This 3 is looking at that square by knight's move, so this square becomes a 2. I get rid of 2 from that. There's a 3-4 pair here. There must be a 3 at the top of the grid, or top of box 4, I should say. And we've got no 3 here because of the knight's move. This square has got to be 2, 4, or 5. It can't be 1, just looking at the options for the rest of this column, look. And there's no 7 in those 2 squares as a result of this 7 over there. This 2 is seeing... Oh, this 2 is seeing the 2-4 pair here. So this is 2, this is 4. There's no 2 in those squares. There's no 4 in this square because of the knight's move restriction. So 2 must live in one of those 2 positions in box 8, which means it's not in any of these squares. It's not in this square. It's got to be in one of those 2 positions. And sorry about this. I know that I'm being a bit bitty in terms of the solving, but I'm just calling things as I see them. Now... This 7 is seeing this 1, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Well, it's seeing the 7 possibility in this square. So this forces this to be a 1. This becomes a 7-8 pair. Is there an 8 looking at this anywhere? No. It's close. These are the sorts of restrictions I always miss as well. Oh, I know what we could do. This cage was the big cage, wasn't it? This adds to 31. 31 plus 2 is 33. These add up to 12, therefore. 12. This can't be a 1, because if it's a 1, I can't make those two add up to 11. If this is... So if this is 6, I've got to make... Ah, beautiful. This can't be 6. If this is 6, this would have to be a 1-5 pair. But this square has to be a 1 or a 5. So whether it's 1 or 5, it would eliminate 1 or 5 from both of these positions. So this can't be a 6. So if this is a 5, on the other hand, these two have to add up to 7. They'd have to be 3 and 4 if this is 5, because obviously 2, 5 is then ruled out. So if this is 5, this is a 3, 4 pair. If this is 4, these have to add up to 8. Ah, okay. So they'd have to be 3 and 5. So this triple is definitely a 3, 4, 5 triple, which means we can get rid of 1 from that square. And 4, in fact, just because there's a 4 here. 3, 4... Ah, if this is a 3, 4, 5 triple, this square has to be a 1 again. These two have to be... So these two can't be 1 and can't be 5. So this is... Oh, hang on, let me... I'm not sure I did that properly. I'm just going to go back. Because this is a 1. You can't put a 1 in here. You can't put a 5 in that one. And you can't put a 4 in that one. But I've said you can't put a... Oh, it's because of this 6, isn't it? So this becomes a 2, 6 pair, but this 6 is ruling a 6 out from this square. So this is a 2, this is a 6. My goodness. And what can we do now? Can we do anything? Yes, this 1 is fixing the 1, 5 over there. So that means this square is a 5 by Sudoku. This square is a 1 by Sudoku. These squares have got to be 2, 4, and 6, I think. 2, 4 there. So this is a 6. This is a 2, 4 pair, and we are cooking with gas here. Now, this 1 is removing 1 from this square, and 1 can't go there either. 5 can't go here. 4 can't go in those squares. 5 can't go here because of this 5. Oh, 5 can't go here. 3 can't go in any of those cells. 7. Okay, so what do we do next? We have got to... Oh, I tell you one thing we can do. We can ask the question, where does 1 go in row 6 of the grid? You can't put a 1 in a 26 gauge. That's not going to work. So this is the only place a 1 can go. So 1 doesn't go at the bottom of the grid there. 1 must be in either this cell or this cell. Okay, is that useful? Maybe. Oh, yeah, it is useful, because now, where does 8 go in this row as well? 8 can't go in here, because it would be repeated in the... Well, also you can just see, look, where can 8 go? It can only go here. Let's not beat around the bush. It's got to go into that square. That means, where does 7 go in this? It's got to go here. Where does 5 go in the central box? It's got to go here. So these squares have got to be 1, 6, and 9 in some order. We know that one's not 1. 6 and 9. These two squares have got to be 5 and 7. Look at this. These have to be 5 and 7. There's a 7 here. So the 7 must go there, the 5 must go there. Otherwise, we'd repeat the 7 in a nice smooth position. Now, how do we make 26 when we've already got 20 in the cage? That's got to be a 6. No. It's got to be a 6. 6. That means this is a 9. And it's amazing. Once we've got a handle on the cage totals, actually the killer Sudoku part of this is approachable, isn't it? It's sort of doable. 2, 4 and 9 here. So this is 2, 4, 9 into those squares. 9 can't go here because of this 9 again. So this has got to be 9. 9's got to go in one of those squares. 9's got to go in one of those squares. Is that useful? I'm sure that there's some way of disambiguating this as well. 2, 4. I need to put an 8 into one of these squares, don't I? For this box, I do. It can only go that one. So that's an 8. Where does 9? Oh, where does 9 go now in this box? It can't go here and it can't go here because of the knight's move. So 9 goes at the top. That places the 8. 9 must go here. We've done all the 9s in the grid now. We've done all the 8s in the grid. And we're just going to be left, I suspect, in a moment with me not spotting all of the various knight's move constraints that are going on in the puzzle. Let's just have a look. Oh, where does 1 go? In column 6 now. There's a 1 here. So 1's got to go there. That fixes this. This must be 6 to complete the row. 6 must be in one of those two positions in box 1. And this... yeah, look. This cage now... This was the 27 cage. One of these is the 28 cage. So this is not adding to 28. This is adding to either 29 or 30. Well, it can't add to 30 if there's a 6 in the row. So this is adding to 29. So we need a 5 and a 7. There's a 5 here. So that's 5. That's 7. This is 3. And... no! There must be a 3 in one of those two squares now, because this 3 sees both of those by knight's move. That gives us the 3 and the 4 into this box here. Now there must be... Oh, look at this. Now there must be a 1 in one of those two squares, and this 1 sees that square. So 3, 1 get placed. 1 has to go here. Again, the knight's move coming to our rescue, ruling out this square. 1 must go here. It's the only place that 1 can go in box 7. These two squares are a 2-4 pair, and we don't know the order. This is a 2 or a 4, look, because of the 2-4 left to be placed in row 2. 2, 4, 5, 6. That's interesting. That creates a 2-4 pair in this cage as well. And a 2-4 pair in row 1. There's all sorts of things going on here. Surely... this 3 is seeing that square. So this is a 5. This is a 4. This is a 3. This is a 4 now. That gives a 5-7 pair here, which is fixable. These two squares have got to be a 2-3 pair. And we've got... 7 must go here by Sudoku. That places a 6 here. 6 and 5 get placed. 5 gets here, placed here by Sudoku. This 2-4 pair is now useful and gives us a 3 into this square, which plonks a 3 here. This becomes 2 and 4, which we can... we don't know how to resolve it yet. I'm sure it will become apparent. Yeah, and that's a 2. Look at that. That 2 is seeing that square by knight's move. So 4 and 2... 4, 4, 2, 4, 2. This 4 C. Oh my goodness. That is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, now we understand why this puzzle has a 100% rating. It's because it's absolutely awesome. I hope you enjoyed it, even a shade as much as I did. And we'll be back, of course, later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.